And we're ready. Hello, everybody. Spider here, the Fight Card Podcast, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. My guest today, not so much, man. Where are you at right now, bro?
I'm in Vegas, bro.
Now, Adam Schindler, man. I've known you through the sport for years. I mean, here in San Antonio, Texas, you competed at top levels in MMA. You come from wrestling. I mean, we've talked about that in a prior interview. Um, but the fact that you're still doing what you're doing, man. I mean, you're actually enjoying it. So, I mean, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. My time, as being an athlete is never going to end. So, whether it be wrestling growing up, then mixed martial arts through my 20s and into my early 30s, and then I'm getting into my late 30s now, and I'm more into like competitive running and just staying in shape. That's something that I find so much value in and portraying to others as well, is that you know certain things may end, but the journey all together doesn't have to end.
No, yeah, and that's a good thing about what you're doing because the way you broke it down right now, it actually makes sense. Because in your 20s, of course, fighting, competing, I'm pretty sure that was your nature back then. You wanted to fight and actually, in a competitive level. And your 30s, kind of getting older, kind of realize like, you know what, like health is everything. I mean, of course, but we had talked about this before also, man. When it came to your fighting, I mean, of course, going back, you had mentioned that you would have done things differently. One of them was your weight cut.
Right.
You
Yeah.
used to,
Pardon me. Go ahead.
I was going to say you used to compete at 145, but you had talk. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. So, I know that we've talked about weight a lot, and I deal with a lot of nutrition now, and I kind of just have like expanded my view and just my knowledge base on nutrition as I've gotten older. And, growing up wrestling through like the late 90s and early 2000s, um, nutrition wasn't as big as it is now, like as far as like a market, a business, things of that nature. People who cut weight basically, you know, starved themselves, cut tons of water weight. We did it in a very unhealthy way. So when I started to start, I started at 155. And I was cutting from like 170 to 155. It wasn't too bad. I felt good. I had a great record. I was doing very well at 155. And then to take it to that next level, I had one fight in Bellator and one fight in Strikeforce at 155. I won both in impressive fashion in both times. And I was looking for a big contract. And we had kind of talked to the UFC a couple times, but I kind of wasn't on their radar quite yet. But I was wanting something where like I could be seen, um, that I would have bigger fights, that I wouldn't, just be fighting local guys anymore or Texas guys or people around. I wanted to fight, people who were on a world level. So the call we ended up getting the call from Bellator for the tournament. And this was in 2011. And the tournament, though, was at 145. And I'd never made 145 before. I hadn't weighed 145. I was 27, turning 28 at the time. I hadn't weighed 145 since I was, a junior in high school. I wrestled 145 when I was 16. So, I had 12 years of man growth, between then and then. And so 145 was something that I was like, all right, well, that's something I can do. I believed I could do it. And I did, but it took a lot out of me. It took a lot out of my mental. It was like two fights.
No, yeah, you see, and I mean, of course, competing at 145. I mean, you mentioned earlier that you're eating as far as healthy wasn't there. Looking back, I mean, could you have changed your diet and kind of done the weight cut a lot cleaner?
Yeah. I mean, I always, all the time, I say, I wish I could put my brain now in like my younger self. If, uh, if the world was a perfect place. But yeah, absolutely. Because what I would do is, um, the weight cut was so strict and the diet was so strict that, and I think a lot of fighters can relate to this. Once you make weight and once you fight, you go completely off, right? So you have like your list of places that you want to go eat, and you just gorge yourself and almost make yourself sick over the next like couple weeks because you're eating so much. That's something I wouldn't have done. I would have stayed more disciplined throughout, without having to, I never spiked up that much, but 175 to 155 is easy, right? 175 to 145 is a whole nother level, right? Because at 155, my body fat percentage was already, less than 5%. So taking that extra 10 pounds, like almost took something out of my soul. So, I mean, I think that in like retrospect, we thought that it could be done and it was a good idea because I would be bigger for the weight class, but everything internally, it did more harm than it did good for me to go to that level. And maybe that was because, maybe I needed to grow more mentally at the time, but it took a lot out of me. And so, I mean, my advice to someone would be, sometimes going down doesn't give you the advantage.
No, yeah, you see, and I was going to ask you, what would be your advice to guys now? Because even I talk to guys here locally still, and they're still like, oh, I'll do 10 pounds in a week or 15 pounds in a week. And I'm thinking, man, like, that doesn't sound too bad. But I mean, like you said, if they have no body fat, and I mean, what else are they going to do that you can't sweat it out, right?
Right. So, and I think it's relative as well, because when I would go to 155, I would do 10 pounds in a couple days, right? But throughout the couple months before that, I was still eating what I wanted. I was still staying pretty full, because I only had to go from 65 to 55. But whenever I was going to 45, like I had to literally change my entire intake, where I was eating less every day. I was still training the same, but I was depleted all the time because I had to make my body smaller in order to take that last 10 pounds off, right? Because there's no way I could have done 20 in a week, right? From 65 to 45. So, and to tell you the truth, it was more like 60 to 45 because I couldn't get my body below like 159, 158 naturally. So I was cutting close to 14 pounds of water, the last week every time. And I was already depleted for months of just eating less.
No, for sure, man. And of course, I mean, now you've gotten older, you've gotten wiser. Now you're on control of your health, man. I mean, you've been doing it. I follow you. I mean, of course, you're on social media, so I follow your runs. You go out there in beautiful scenery, man. So of course, you're enjoying it. But I mean, do you miss like Texas, man? Do you miss San Antonio? Is the scenery much better out there?
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, man, I love Texas. I miss Texas a lot. I haven't ruled out, like, there's actually been a lot of like talking back and forth. I can't divulge anything, but I've spoken to multiple people about moving back possibly within the next year or so. And specifically in like the San Antonio, New Braunfels, that Austin area region, depending on what opens up. I have a geography degree, so I've always liked just like topography and the relationship of like the land. The desert Southwest has been something that's been very attractive to me. And I love the weather out here. So it is great out here. The scenery is awesome, but you can't beat Texas as far as freedom first and foremost goes. Texas set the example over the last year or two on, how to run things and give people autonomy and freedom, but still do well in everything else.
No, definitely, man. And one of the things I was going to tell you before, like Austin used to be, like an hour away from San Antonio. Now it seems like we're neck to neck, man. Like the city's grown so much, bro, that San Antonio's like right there now,
Right.
But you've been here in years, though, right? You haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, so I've been in Vegas since 2015. I actually graduated from Texas State in San Marcos in 2015 in May, and then I got a job out here in July, and I moved in August. So it's been 7 years that I've been in Vegas, or almost 7 years. But yeah, I remember talking about this 10 years ago. being in like geography classes and talking about population growth and, the growth of Texas, especially in that triangle, right? The Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio range. And we were talking about how Austin and San Antonio were going to end up like the DFW Metroplex in 10, 20 years. And you see it happening, in real time. So that's really cool to see.
No, I mean, definitely, because I mean, I'm a contractor. I deliver furniture all over the city. And I mean, I'm driving out there outside 1604 Petranco, and I'm like, man, when did this come up? There's like houses and apartment complexes, and it's getting populated, man. I know, for the most part, I mean, I've always been central as far as like close to downtown, but it's still a good place, man. Like, I mean, I've been to Florida, I've been to Chicago, Atlanta, for work, and I always wanted to come back. It was always been home. But you're not originally from San Antonio, though, right?
No, I'm not. I actually grew up in West Virginia, but I lived in San Antonio for 8 years. So
And that was,
San Antonio is still the longest place I've ever lived at once. So yeah, so I give that its credit. In San Antonio, I still feel I have a lot of friends there. I have a lot of like a big network there, and that is some place that like I've always held dear in my heart, and someplace that whenever I think about settling, raising a kid, I have one now. So San Antonio is high on the list.
No, I mean, definitely. I know it's gotten bigger, man. And one of the things, I mean, here, I mean, I'm inside the HOG Academy in downtown, and of course, the owner Jacob, he found the place. He gave me an opportunity. I mean, I set up camp here. And I mean, I like it for the most part because we are downtown. So, I mean, 35, 37, all the highways are right off the bat. But I mean, man, if you were to move down here, man, that'd actually be pretty cool, man. I'd look forward to that, man. That'd be pretty great.
It's something that we've, verbalized between a few different people that I'm talking about, like some things with.
Right.
So it's a definite possibility right now. Having a home here in Vegas, it's a good time to sell. So we've just got to kind of like smooth some details out about that and make sure that everyone's on the same mind path.
No, for sure, man. And I mean, earlier we were talking about as far as the podcast. I mean, of course, I was telling you it's taking me a while to kind of figure out how to go about doing that. I had a couple of people show me, as far but we were talking about how hard it is for somebody to actually give somebody else advice. I mean, as a personal trainer, as a life coach, man, because that's what I see you as. I mean, you have people coming to you, and of course, I mean, you're willing to help, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's exactly what I feel like my purpose really has come to be, because I've got a lot of experience through different things and helping people navigate, through those things, so that way that they don't have to do it the hard way like I had to, or helping in a way. I think that adding value is something that everyone should aspire to do.
Right.
Just because, I mean, when you think about it, and there's a lot of people and a lot of like, personalities on the internet and stuff like that are talking about it now, right? So gratitude, value, helping, right? Being selfless. So business isn't necessarily anymore about what I can get and I need to keep all the secrets, because if someone's working hard enough, they're going to find out the secret anyways, because there aren't any secrets. It's hard work, it's sweat, it's putting in the day by day process. So being able to help someone with that process, I think, can be exponential value to anyone, because that forms trust and it builds relationships, and you never know when you may need help from someone else, right? Karma is something that I fully believe in. So when you help others, you're going to get help as well. And, I think that rising tides raise all ships. You can either be a crab in a bucket or, a ship on a high tide.
No, definitely. You see, and that's one of the things with me, man. I mean, I don't know much, but there's times where somebody's like, hey, how do you, helping them out with furniture or home. I've done a little bit of everything. But I'm always offering. I always offer my help. I mean, if it's holding up the chair while you go up there, no problem. I'll help out. But my customers, I get a lot of returning customers, and we have that work relationship where they know they can depend on me. They trust me, so they're like, hey, just bring this and put it in the bag. Doors open. Just lock it on your way out, and it's kind of humbling, man, because
Yeah.
they know me on that level, but the fact that they trust me on that other level, I'm like, wow, you know what, like. And I mean, I feel privileged, but I'm always there to help. If you were to come down, man, I mean, if that were to happen, of course, I mean, we're already set up here, man. I mean, I know you talked about maybe possibly doing your own podcast, but heck, bro, we're set up. All you got to do is sit down, put the switch, and get to go.
Hey, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. And, that's something that I am interested in, because I think, the more value or the more people you can reach, the more value you add. And to go back to what you said about, feeling like that privilege because of the trust that you gain between, those customers. The great part about that is those people won't keep that to themselves. That's going to get you more business moving forward when someone, they may not have to like actively seek out like, hey, I'll let Spider for this or for that. Or they just, if they hear in conversation that someone needs something that you can provide, and you've always been, that trustworthy person, that person that comes through, that person who they can count on, then your name's going to be dropped. And I mean, it comes full circle that way.
No, it does, because I do get a lot of referrals. And I laughed inside earlier, man, because my girl's like, oh yeah, all these customers, they can depend on you. And she's like, I'm still waiting for that yard to get raked. And I'm like, I'll get to it later, man. But I will get to it later, though, for sure, man.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, that's the thing too, we got to kind of in that same type of mindset, right? When you're looking for business, but you're helping others out and you're being very selfless in your help. You always have to remember to take care of home too,
Oh, yeah. And I do, man. And my thing is, I guess when it comes to home, a majority of the time she thinks I can read her mind, and I can't, and she doesn't see that. So she'll look at me a certain way, and I know she's thinking about something. And then the following day or a day later, she's like, hey, well, I thought, you were going to do this. And I'm like, when did you ever say that? Like, but yeah.
Yeah, I think as men, we probably all deal with that. That'd be like the greatest superpower ever, is to have mind reading capabilities. That would take a lot of problems away.
No, definitely, man. And I mean, on my, for myself, I do a lot at home. I mean, I do. I take care of the dogs. My mom's living with me these days, man, so I take care of her. But yeah, when it comes to the house, I rake, I whatever needs to be done. Like basically, she'll do the work, and I'm the muscle, so I'll go back and I'll clean up and get everything out of the way. But yeah, man. I mean, I definitely put my my work at home.
Yeah, I got to say that's one good thing about living in the desert is that I'm looking into my backyard right now, and it's all brick and rock. So like palm trees don't shed. So there's not a whole lot of yard work to be done, So it makes it pretty simple.
What do? You just get the blower and just blow more dirt off, or how does that work, man?
Kinda, I guess. I got dogs too. I don't know if you can see my pit back there, but
Yeah.
pick up dog crap. That's basically all you got to do.
And man, let me ask, because I mean, you post pictures all the time about when you go to your runs. Is everything like close to your house? Is that like your front yard, or?
Yeah, so I live in an area called Mountain's Edge. So I've been down here for about 4 years now. I bought this house in 2018, but this part of town is being like extremely developed. There's basically, from 4 years ago, the road that I live off of, Blue Diamond, has transformed. You wouldn't even recognize it. It's basically like a city now. But my home, my neighborhood is about 1 block from the mountains. So when I run, I run half a mile and I go down, and all those mountains, that's basically the backdrop. So it's nice because on this part of town, I don't even feel like I live in Vegas, because it's the mountains and it's nature, and it's super pedestrian friendly down here. So like I can run on the streets without having to worry about like being hit by cars or anything like that. But if I get on this road and go towards the city, I can be at the strip in 15 minutes. So it's not bad.
Nice. And I was gonna say the signal's actually pretty good being about around mountains, man. Because normally over here I go up the street somewhere and I lose signal, but yours is pretty good though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There are some pockets here in the southwest part of the city where, like, for instance, I'll be listening to a podcast like on Spotify, and it'll be fine. But if I open the Spotify app in specific parts, it'll start spinning, and I'm like, God damn it! Like, because I know where the spots are, but I'm just like so impatient that I go there anyways.
And man, and let me ask you, man, when it comes, because obviously you've competed in mixed martial arts. Comes to MMA these days, are you still a fan? Do you still watch?
Oh yeah, man. I basically watch all of them. I have ESPN Plus. I've spent, I actually buy the pay-per-views. So I spend way too much money on pay-per-views, because I do have a small son. I used to go out and watch them, and I can kind of like, but now it's more like home parties, because I got a little guy on Saturday nights. But yeah, absolutely, man. I don't think I've missed one in a long time. Especially since since the pandemic happened. That was like my one form of refuge during the pandemic. There were no sports. I was running every day outside, but I mean, thank God for for Dana White and UFC, because that was our only form of entertainment.
Oh yeah, I mean, he definitely took charge, man. I mean, he started his promote. He put people. One of the things that I didn't realize, I on social media, I have people in Australia, England, Philippines that I keep in touch with. And one of my buddies in Australia, he was telling me how one of his buddies got picked up by the UFC, but because they weren't flying, during that whole COVID thing, that his contract ran up, and he just sat, and I was like, man, I didn't think about that, because we're so used to UFC being, here in the US, and of course we still had it. But a lot of fighters, I mean, they didn't get that opportunity, man.
Yeah, I mean, and the window of opportunity in that sport at that level is, can be so small for the vast majority. There's the select few that have that extended length, but the window of opportunity can be so small that, that's bad luck. That's bad. But, that's the thing though, is that, hopefully, I feel like you can make luck as well. If you have bad luck, something doesn't work out for you, you can look at it as woe is me, or you can take as much as you can learn from the situation and move forward, because time's not going to stop. No one's coming to save you. You know what I mean? Like, you can pout about it or use those opportunities and make new ones.
No, definitely. One of the things that you mentioned right now was as far as time not waiting, because even there was a couple of amateur fighters that were still fighting in the amateur circuit, and by the time everything opened up, they were like, man, I'm gonna go pro, man. I've already lost a year. I have 3 fights as an amateur. I'm just gonna go with that and go pro. And luckily they're still winning, but it was just because, yeah, I mean, technically we lost a year, and like you said, it could be a month, 2 months, where if you blink and that opportunity passes you by, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's crazy, and especially you have to take the opportunities when they present themselves in any form in life, really, because that's one thing that I've learned, is that even though I took an opportunity and it didn't work out for me in going to 145, I can't live the if, but, when, process in my mind. It happened. I move forward, right? Time doesn't wait, because we got to continue to move. But you can learn a lot. I learned a lot from that experience. I learned a lot from the weight cut, and it's helped me just as much mentally as maybe it hurt me anywhere else.
No, you see, and one of the good things that you actually did was you went back to school.
Yeah.
I mean, you went to school, you actually, got educated even more. And, you could, like you said, you could have done the other way and just said, like, what, screw it, I'm not going to fight, I'll get a 9-to-5 job, and that's it, but instead you went to school and actually bettered yourself, man. I mean, here we are.
11 years later, geez.
And
Sure.
I was talking. Did you ever meet Mark Lozano, man? Young guy back in the day. Used to from here, San Antonio.
Where's he
He was
from?
12 when I was watching covering the tournaments. But he was here in town. He's in Arizona. Drove down. He's here for a few days, but I hadn't
Cool.
seen him in years. But I mean, we were talking about how like time flies. I mean, he's barely like 25, bro, and I'm like, man, like if you know. But talking about the time frames because I'm like, dude, I can't remember the 90s from the 2000s. Like people told me, when we went to that show, and I'm like, oh, like 2005, and they're like, dude, that was like in 90, 98 or 96, and I'm like, oh crap, like I
Yeah.
lost 10 years somewhere, man, and it blows my mind because I doesn't feel like that, but yeah, I mean, blink of an eye, man, life goes on.
And the older you get, the more it runs together too. But that's why it's good. Those memories are good because it's nice to have to make you feel good and remember and build positive like memories as well. But forward to where we're going.
Man, and let me ask you, if you were to move down here, man, Aaron Suarez, man, I won't tag him on this video, but I can bump him and I'll bring you in on Fridays, bro. How about that, man?
Yep, absolutely, man. Love Aaron. I messaged him last week. It was funny because I don't know if it was just from like seeing y'all's like stuff on Instagram or what, but I had a dream that we were at a gym that we opened. So Bobby Peak owns Ambush Muay Thais in San Antonio, and Bobby's one of my best friends. And so we all train together, me, him, Aaron, Chris Lopez, all trained together at Powerhouse way back in the day. And I had a dream that it was me, Aaron, Bobby, and Junior and Steven Flores and Junior
Yeah,
Hernandez. And
yeah.
it was like old days. We were just in the gym, punching each other, grappling. And I woke up and I was like, oh man, that's hilarious. And it was funny because Aaron had hit me about something. And I was like, bro, it's crazy that you hit me because I had a dream that you were in last night. He's like, he told me, he's like, yeah, I have nightmares about that too.
Man, and obviously, man, because I mean, me and Aaron have talked about that a lot, bro. Because even back then, during those times that all you guys were training together, you guys were a powerhouse, literally. I mean, that team itself, there was a lot of experience, a lot of different fighters from different aspects. But because you guys were training together, man, you guys just amplified and freaking, y'all were taking over the Texas scene, basically, man.
Yeah. And honestly, those are some of the most fun times in my life, those years that we spent together, because it was very close knit. We did everything together. You know what I mean? We drank together, we ate together, we did New Year's together. From 2007 all the way to 2010, for those like 3 or 4 years, I basically lived in the gym. So
Yeah.
all my friends were from the gym, and they were like family to me. And there were some weird ways that those things parted, and I think some weird feelings for like a little bit, and then I think everyone saw like the reality of the whole situation after a while. But there's never no love lost from on my end
Right.
from that, and we're all good.
No, no. I mean, we're all adults now, man. So I mean, to even backpedal and think about stuff like that, because I mean, just like with anything, politics always pop up. I had a boxing promoter here earlier, man, and we were talking about just that, politics. I mean, about how if you're doing something and I'm doing this like the same thing, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna show you, I'm not gonna help you, and he was just like, let's help each other, man. Let's get up there and put a platform and get the guys to fight, because that's what it boils down to. But I mean, I hate to talk about it only because politics are out there, and it's just like one of those things that after a while you kind of have to watch what you say or what you do, and it's just like, man, let's just move on with it.
Well, there's so much more to just communication than that as well. Because if you think about politics, both sides of the spectrum are being misled in one way or the other, right? So we can just come together. We don't have to agree on everything, but we can learn as well. And that's a good thing, being able to work with one another and help one another. It goes back to like rising tides raise all ships.
Exactly, man. And let me ask you, like, even at these days, man, or like, are you ever home and you're thinking, like, man, maybe I got one more in me when it
Man,
comes to?
I thought that so many times, bro. It's funny. I still, so I am in the gym a lot of times with, young, athletic uh, people. And I mean, I don't even think that I'm as old as I am sometimes because I'm out working everyone else, like even those young athletic people. But in fitness, right? It's a little bit different once you start getting punched in the face. But yeah, but I did during the pandemic. I started rolling again. I was at Cobra Kai with Simgo, and I went there, but I was only there for about a month because I don't know what happened. I was rolling, and the guys there were great. They're super cool. I've actually known him for a long time, probably at least 10 or 11 years. But I hurt myself. My shoulder, like I hurt my shoulder. I didn't feel it like when I was grappling, but I like walked off the mat and I was like, damn, like something hurt. And I literally couldn't even sleep for like 2 weeks. Like something, and I still feel it like popping because I didn't go to the doctor. I mean, it was July 2020. So like I couldn't even go to a doctor. So it's better now, but it kind of scared me because I was like, man, I'm getting older. Like I don't want to like hurt myself to where I can't do normal things. But
Right. No, definitely, man. Because one of the things, and even with myself, bro, like I keep saying, I'm gonna go back out there, but I know I'm afraid. Like even if I just shoot in and throw my arms up, like I'm gonna dislocate both my shoulders. Like I'm just like, whoa. I can carry a sofa upstairs. I can move furniture. I can do all this, but it's gonna take that little me shooting in or me doing something that's gonna throw something off, and I'll be that'll screw me up, man, because I gotta work.
yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, this is the thing. I love hitting pads. I love hitting the bag, shadow boxing, light sparring. I'm not going to go in. I'm not trying to fight anyone anymore. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to be 39 years old this year. I haven't fought since 2013. What I want, and my idea after my second surgery on my knee in 2013, I had just turned 30. And I was like, I need to start setting myself up for longevity, right? So my mind went from like proving myself, fighting, being the best to like, I want to be the best as long as I can, right? So if I've hurt myself and I can't be the best right now, what I can do is continue to stay the path, stay consistent long enough. I want to be 60 and running, half marathons. I want to be able to like play with grandkids and stay the course because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for anyone between 25 and 35 where you can get to a level, right? If you work hard enough. But the older you get, that window of people who keep it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So when you keep it as you age and as you grow older, your visibility gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because the crop of people who are doing things at a level that you want to keep get smaller. So it's kind of that's kind of the mindset that I put into it when I knew that my knee wasn't going to allow me to do what I wanted to do in mixed martial arts. I was like, all right, there's still things that I can do and that I can keep myself going forever as long as I just never stop.
No, definitely. And I'm pretty sure that was a hard decision. I mean, did you struggle with it right off the bat? I mean, did you kind of
Yeah,
go
man.
through or anything?
I still struggle with it because I had big plans, and I knew I had the talent and I had the opportunity. I dropped the ball a couple times, but you know, there are times when when you think about it, you're just like, oh, and I'm like, it's 10 years later, and I'm like, oh, sometimes, and but that's when you have to just go back to the mindset thing, right? It's past, it's gone. You learn from it. What can I do now? Because me being upset about it or wishing, coulda, woulda, shoulda, anything doesn't do anything for me today, right?
Right.
Other than put me in a mindset of living in the past. And I mean, you know, no one, I mean, everyone does it, but no one wants to be the guy talking about the high school glory days.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you start talking about the glory days, that means what's ahead, right?
Come on, man. No, and that's true, because I ain't gonna lie, man. I still think about stuff that I did, and I'm like, damn, if only I should have, but it's, life moves on, man. Like, I mean, my kids growing up, I mean, of course, I got to live through them. I mean, as far as them being in sports and participating and, doing what they're doing, but, no regrets, man, definitely. But I still, maybe me and Aaron will put a gi on and go roll out there for a while, man, one of these days. We'll see, man.
Yeah, it's fun, man. That's the thing, is like, you can always do it for fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can always do it for fun. You just got to be careful. Choose the right training partners.
Oh, yeah.
Protect your neck.
I'll be like, no arm bars, no leg locks, no neck cracks. Let's just roll, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But my man, I want to thank you, bro, for jumping on this. I mean, of course, you talked about possibly jumping into and getting your own podcast, man. I mean, any ideas as far as what you'll be doing?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me and having this conversation. I love having good conversations with other good people looking to grow and do the same type of things. But yeah, I've been thinking about doing a podcast for a long, long time because I listen to a lot of them, and I feel I have a lot of value to give and a lot of value to add when it comes to mindset, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to training for longevity. Because I do have a program that I run. It's the Schindler Fit program is what I do, and it's fitness, nutrition, and mindset for longevity, right? So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about keeping your mind in the right place, talking about some of the things that we've already touched on, moving forward, taking lessons from failures, continuing to see the light. What can I do rather than what can't I do, right? Because a lot of times, and what I notice even in fighting, is when you get to a certain level, everyone's talented. There are minute differences that can make the difference. And I think the biggest difference between those top levels on the W's and the L's is all up here. It's all in the mind. So talking about mindset, talking about just different benefits and types of exercise and how to incorporate it and what it does for you, not just physically but mentally. Different types of eating patterns, what you can eat, what makes you feel good, what people have seen results from specific types or styles of eating as well. Business. I think that, conversations about mindsets and experiences and learning from and being able to help others learn from that same experience is a bottomless vault. Right. So there's always things that we can pull from there that someone has experienced that we haven't, or that we have that someone else hasn't, that we can help step up that ladder of life, really. So that's the idea behind it right now.
Oh, you see, and just on that alone, man, you already got like 20 episodes right there, bro. I mean, it's definitely a lot. So, I mean, for sure, man. But Adam Schindler, Schindler Fit, of course. Bro, I appreciate you, man. And like I said, dude, I mean, if you do move down here, you're close by, bro. By all means, you can jump in the studio and help us out, man. Get your own thing going.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem, man. Everybody, Spider here, DeFi Car Podcast. Until next time, follow up.